You are listening to The Ben Keats Show, where every day the objective is simple. Ben will never stop fighting the fight and lighting the light on topics that affect you every day.
Welcome, boys, girls, men, women, immigrants, people that live in Brazil, people that live in China, however you're watching, however you're tuning in today, thank you. We're going to talk about an election that's coming up here in the United States of America that is going to be watched by the world. Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. The world is watching. And I'm not going to talk about Donald. Not going to talk about Kamala either much. I'm going to talk about you, and I'm going to talk about me and what is going on in our society right now that should be bothering all of I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to read a sign for you really fast. Okay. And so, this is at one of my customers' houses. And I'm just going to read it. And this is what it says. In our America, all people are equal. In our America, love wins. Black lives matter. Women are in charge of their bodies. Diversity is celebrated. Immigrants and refugees are welcome. People and planet are valued over profit. Disabilities are respected. I'm going to read you one more. If I can do this here. The other one is, where is it here? This is a simple one. And you see these signs all over Kansas City, but probably all over everybody. I think there's a church. The sign says, do unto others. Sounds cute, right? It's nice. I think there's another one that says like respect or I don't know, kindness, stuff like that. Okay. Why am I bringing up these signs? Here's kind of what's happening in our elections and our politics, and it's super disturbing. Number one, let's talk about kindness and respecting others. Why are we putting a sign in our front yards that talks about respect? Why? We're going to say, well, I mean, everything's just so hostile and it seems like everybody's mad and everybody's angry and, we're forgetting these basic human values. I'm like, okay, so the sign is up primarily for an election, and there's a church that I think gives out these signs, I believe. Nothing wrong with the church. This is what they're doing. But let me tell you what the problem with this is. We have an election between two people completely different in their policies and their demeanor too, but in their policies. And there's an uncomfortability with differences and having respectful discussions. Our politicians can't do it. It seems like some can, but it seems like at least in this presidential election, it can't happen. So we're just going to put a sign that says respect. I don't need to be lectured or told. I don't need to see a sign that tells me to respect people. I do respect people. I reject the narrative that we're so off that we need signs reminding people to be nice. And I think what happens is we see these like a debate, or we see these commercials, or we see a cable news station, and we see this vitriol that is ugly at times. Why don't you put the sign in CNN's front door? Why don't you put these signs like outside the debate before Trump and Kamala debate? Like, it's not for you and me. So, I'm not going there. I'm not going to be lectured to be nice and respectful when most people I meet are nice and respectful. I have friends who vote for Kamala. I have friends who are going to vote for Donald. Nobody cares. We're all still friends. And what the part of it that bothers me too is that instead of making a stand on who someone wants to vote for, we're going to lecture them on making sure they're being nice. I don't think we need that. I think there's something about that might feel good to some people, but there's something about that negates the natural and should be friendly, competitive fire on who becomes president of the most powerful country in the world. Like, we can have that debate and discussion. It can even be contentious at times. But we don't need to reduce it with these stupid signs. Okay, now let's go to these other signs. We've seen these other signs, the one I read. Okay, in our city, in our country, in our house, we believe this. Hate has no home here. All this. Hey, guess what? Are there homes where hate does have a home? Hey, you can come over here. We have a place for you in our house. Well, yeah. I mean, hate is taught sometimes. Yeah. Again, there's an egotistical. There's this type of arrogance of looking down at how people view the world and themselves. Like, even take some of these lines in that sign. Love wins. What does love win? Okay. What does that even mean? I mean, I know what they're saying. All people are equal. Is this a debate? Are we actually debating in 2024 if all people are equal? What does that even mean? What it means to them is also equal outcome. So when you have somebody that's rich and you have somebody that's poor, they look at that as, oh, look at this isn't fair. It actually is fair. We're going to talk about that in the next episode. Women are in charge of their bodies, right? So are men. And an unborn could be in charge of their body too, because it's an equal human being. Well, no, it can't it can't decide, it doesn't know how to balance a checkbook yet. It can't it doesn't really know it exists. I mean, and a newborn does. Like, when do you know that you exist? Tell me that. Tell me your first memories when you knew what was actually going on in your world. Diversity is celebrated. Okay, sure. Actually, diversity isn't really that big of a deal, but I mean, it's cool. I love being in a country that is diverse. So diverse we're all human beings. Okay, but let's look at is diversity of ideas celebrated? Are we excited to have multiple ideas represented in an election? Or my ideas are good and their ideas are evil? Or I don't even know what Donald Trump's ideas are because he's just an evil man. But what if his ideas are better? What if, economically speaking, he's going to run this country better? But he's a buffoon half the time. And what if Kamala is smoother, but her ideas aren't as good? See, this is what's happened. What's happened in our elections and our process. We're going to talk about the dogs in Ohio. We're going to talk about, Trump telling another person about, grabbing, a girl. We're going to talk about what Kamala had to do, some people say, to get to where she is today. I mean, there's all sorts of things we can say, right? Biden, a lifelong. I mean, we can say all of these things. I don't care. I used to care. I cared for some reason. When Bill Clinton was going through his stuff, I was, I sound like a hypocrite now because I'm like, oh, his values matter. And I was like, at the end of the day, what policies you enact and the people you put around you is literally the most important thing. It's more important than anything else. So I love diversity, especially when we're actually welcoming diverse ideas, which free speech is going out the window on that. Immigrants and refugees are, of course, immigrants. We're the land of immigrants, right? Illegal immigrants? Should people be legal? If there's distraught something happening across the world, refugees come to America first, always, versus countries that are closest to them. See, we like to paint a picture of racism when racism doesn't exist. Like, there's logical reasons why we have borders and limits on people who can come in. It's not because we're racist, and it's not because we're mean. It's because this is what all countries do, not just us. All countries. Actually, most countries have stricter. It's funny, like, calling out Americans for our policy on immigration when America was born welcoming and wanting immigrants to come here. But now, in our ridiculous political climate, we're going to demonize people because they think that you should be legal to come here. Like, it's not even about a good or bad person. Like, if I was, in a third world country and I could sneak into America, maybe I would do it too. But it's okay to have laws. Like, I can have empathy, but we can also have laws. People and planet are valued over profit because we're going to spend all this money on climate change stuff that's going to cripple companies. That's fine until they shut your company down. Like, profit is a good word. But again, these people hate capitalism. Like, you have to see it. The entire movement with climate change has nothing to do with climate. I mean, we're so stupid today. A tornado happens and we're like, oh, see, it's a climate. And guess what? We've always had tornadoes. We had an ice age too. Like, we have fluctuations in weather. We have events, and we always have. Even if we're having more right now, whether we are or not, who knows what's true. It doesn't even matter anymore. Like, everybody's, oh, it's a hot day, it's global warming. Oh, it's a regular day, I guess we're doing okay today. They hate capitalism. Always know that. The environmental movement doesn't have anything to do with the environment. It has to do with despising capitalism and profits and wealth. And guess what? They're coming after America. Like, that's the whole thing. Because other countries don't allow you to have this wealth. Like, they hate it. Disabilities are respected, right? Yeah, I agree. Like, you're not saying anything in this sign. Like, we know this. We as Americans believe this. There's not a party that believes this and a party that doesn't. Most human beings, in essence, agree with this line. But there's slight messages that are coming, which is why signs like this exist. And what we do is we become a people in a country of these labels, and people get, Taylor Swift takes a stand or Brady Mahomes takes a stand, and they're going to get ostracized by the other side. Who cares? Why? Why does it matter? Look, even in our public schools, of course we have fair and good teachers, but we also have ridiculous biased teachers. And it's not just in the last 10 years. It's when I was in school. I mean, I remember, one American history teacher in the building that I taught that would not fly the American flag because she doesn't like what America stands for. And she's teaching American history. Yet another history teacher in the same school that had posters like all over his room making fun of George W. Bush. Like, what? I mean, imagine if, and I was a conservative government teacher, imagine if I had stuff on my walls like ripping on Obama or ripping on Clinton or whomever. I mean, this stuff is actually happening though. And that's one school. Your kids, and if we actually delve into this, can have story after story of English teachers. I mean, I can tell you stories of English teachers in my old school and some of the things they said and some of the things they did. I mean, the stories would go on and on, because the reality is our education system and our media is one bicep and another bicep of the Democrat Party. That's the visual you need to have. That's the muscle behind the Democrat Party, the media and schools. Tell me I'm wrong. Prove it. Come on this show. Sit down right next to me. Let's have a friendly conversation about the media in school. And this is a reality. So that when someone comes in it's why Kamala Harris won't do a press conference, because she does not want to be interviewed by a bunch of reporters that aren't controlled. She would do a press conference if it's like, well, I want him and her. I'm going to have these people. I know they like me, and I want to see the questions first. And I want softball type questions. But if you open up a room of reporters, yes, most of them are going to be more liberal, but some are going to ask hard questions, and there'll be some conservative ones. They're not doing it. They're not even putting her in that situation. Talk about protecting democracy. We have a politician who's going to potentially be president of the United States, not even vetted. Not even vetted whatsoever. Can't even be vetted by our media. So if we don't see the problem in this, and this has to at some point come back to us, like, we can't keep pointing the finger. Like, we have to do something about it. I want an education system that believes in free speech. I want an education system that doesn't rip on the other side of whatever they do. Like, I was conservative, but I was fair to all the sides. I wasn't trying to convince liberal kids that you better be conservative. I was actually teaching liberal kids, and actually the liberal kids at the school I taught were, many of them were really intelligent, and they didn't need my help that much. Sometimes the conservative kids needed a little more help because they're actually not versed in some of these things because they just don't hear it, especially in public schools. I'm teaching pro-capitalism thoughts about free market, etc., to seniors in high school, and it's like new information to them because they're just not taught it in the same way that maybe you were when you were a kid. Why is Bernie Sanders popular? The schools. So as we move into this election with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, we're going to have a winner. We're going to have a loser. Hopefully everything's peaceful and simple when one person goes and one person stays. You need to do me a favor. We need a couple of things to start happening. First of all, I never want to see these three candidates again, no matter what happens. I'm done with all three. I'm talking about Joe, obviously, and Kamala and Donald. So let's hope in the next election we have people that are kind. Kamala's not kind because she's like intelligent, can voice opinions. We can actually debate topics in a respectful way. Like, what would it be like if in a debate, like, you know what, that was actually, I kind of agree with that point that you just said. That's a good point. The American people would be like jaws dropped to the floor if they were actually nice to each other. Right now we're at a place where you're the worst person ever on the face of the earth. You're the worst president. Like we're like having like pissing matches. And it's like, gosh, what is going on? Why are we allowed? What do we need to do to change this? Well, we need to first change with ourselves and to get rid of these stupid signs that don't say anything, that puts this neighbor against this neighbor. We believe in our family. Shut up. We can all make these signs if we want to. Love is, yeah, we know what these things mean. You're not saying anything intelligent. You're not saying anything about, you're saying more about you and your arrogance than you are about anybody else. Because it's not like I like the Royals and you like the Yankees. It's like we all believe in the statement that love is love. We all believe in the statement that Black Lives Matter, like with our whole hearts and every part of our being. We don't need to be lectured and being painted these fake sides to make another side look ridiculous. As if the other side is, well, Black lives don't matter. Well, love is not just love. Love should only be for heterosexuals. No. Everybody, you're going to find someone to love regardless of what your sexual orientation is. And it's not that big of a deal. Like, we know these things. And so our climate starts with us. And it starts with us being willing and able, let's say on social media, to next time someone says something you disagree, why don't you find some element of what they said that you agree with? Why don't we start being kinder in how we have conversations with people who disagree? Why don't we take away the stupid signs and say, you know what, like, we don't really want another Donald Trump type personality. I like his policies. I don't like his personality. We don't need to have a senile old man trying to run for president. And he was actually, his whole 4 years, he was a senile old man. We don't need Kamala Harris with, honestly, a relatively low political IQ who is as liberal as they actually come. But then I'm here for everybody. No, you're not. Why don't we actually get some different politicians? Why don't we get some people that can complement the other side, who can articulate in an intelligent sentence what they believe? I just need to run for president. Maybe I'd get a few votes. That's really what I want to do. All of this episode is just to say I'm running for president. What would that be, 2028? Maybe 2032. I don't know. I got to get more popular. I need more subscribers on YouTube, or that's just simply not going to happen. Probably got to get that up like higher than 500 or whatever it is right now. Anyway, I'm joking, but I would run for president. It would be fun, and I would do a better job in the debate than any of these clowns I've seen so far. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. It's been fun. Go vote, figure it out. We'll see who wins. Life goes on, and just be kind, but also be strong in what you believe. And be respectful in how you come across. And I hope that I've done that in this episode. If you're curious, you should go listen to the very first episode I did. It's only on Apple. It's only on Spotify. It wasn't on YouTube yet. But it was about this topic of what's wrong with the world today. And before you answer Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, you are what's wrong with the world today. And we need to look in the mirror first on what we can do to change this narrative of having a fair media, a fair education system that's fair to all people, and then also being kind to people who disagree. So hope you enjoyed today. I enjoyed this topic. Super passionate about it. I'm kind of a little sweaty. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can reach out on Ben's website, www.benkeatshow.com, or on social media to chat. And please remember to subscribe so that you never miss an episode.